The wrapped presents sat under the twinkling Christmas tree like colorful promises, but the venom in Emma's voice cut through the holiday magic like a knife through wrapping paper. "She ruins everything," my 8-year-old niece hissed, glaring at me from across the living room while our family pretended not to hear. "I'm Carol Martinez. I'm 42, and for the past 8 years I've been the designated family scapegoat at every holiday gathering. According to the Martinez family narrative, I'm the one who causes drama, starts fights, and destroys special moments." The irony wasn't lost on me that Emma was proving exactly the opposite while accusing me of doing what she was actively doing. But this Christmas morning was different. Hidden beneath the pile of gift bags and torn wrapping paper was a manila envelope that someone had accidentally grabbed from my sister's desk upstairs. An envelope that was about to shatter every lie my family had been telling about me for nearly a decade. The living room was full of my extended family, my sister Linda, her husband Mike, their daughters Emma and Sophie, my parents, my brother Tony, and his wife Rachel. Everyone I'd grown up loving, everyone who'd spent years treating me like I was poison at family gatherings, everyone who was about to discover the truth about who really ruins everything. As Emma continued her whispered commentary about my presence ruining Christmas, my father picked up the manila envelope, thinking it was another gift. "What's this one?" he asked, already tearing it open before anyone could stop him. The silence that followed would change our family forever. The tension in that room was thick enough to cut with the Christmas carving knife. Emma's complaint about me ruining everything had been echoing through our family for years, but something about this moment felt different, final, like a reckoning that had been building for decades. I knew the family dynamics were wrong, but I didn't know how deliberately orchestrated my isolation had been. For years, I'd been the problem child in every family story, the one who always starts arguments at holiday dinners, the one who can't just let things go when family issues arise, the one who makes everything about herself whenever there's a celebration or crisis. I'd started to believe it myself, wondering if there was something fundamentally broken about my ability to fit into my own family. But the envelope my father was opening contained something that would explain everything. Documents, letters, and evidence that would reveal the truth about 8 years of calculated family manipulation. Someone in that room had been orchestrating my exclusion systematically, and it wasn't me. The rustling of papers being pulled from the manila envelope was the only sound in the room, as my father's expression changed from curiosity to confusion to something that looked like horror. Let me paint you the picture of our twisted family dynamics. Emma Martinez is 28, Linda's eldest daughter, and the golden child who can do no wrong in our family's eyes. She's beautiful, successful as a marketing manager, and has perfected the art of looking innocent while delivering devastating psychological blows. Her fatal flaw isn't just narcissism, it's the need to maintain her perfect image by ensuring someone else is always the villain in every family story. Linda Martinez is my 5-year-old sister and Emma's devoted mother. She's been the family mediator for years, always smoothing over conflicts and keeping the peace. But her peacemaking comes at a cost. She maintains harmony by ensuring all blame gets directed at one person, me. Her fatal flaw is confusing enabling with love and conflict avoidance with problem solving. Mike Rodriguez is Linda's husband, 47, a quiet man who goes along with whatever keeps his wife happy. He's not actively cruel, just passively complicit in whatever narrative Linda and Emma create about family problems. Sophie Martinez is 24, Emma's younger sister, who spent her whole life watching the family dynamics without fully understanding them. She's kind but conflict-averse, staying silent when she should speak up. Our parents, David and Maria Martinez, both in their 70s, raised us to value family above everything else. But their desire for family unity has made them blind to the manipulation happening under their own roof. The missing piece was the envelope, correspondence that would reveal who'd been orchestrating 8 years of psychological warfare against me. Before I tell you what was in that envelope and how it changed everything, I need to ask you something. Have you ever been the family scapegoat who gets blamed for everything that goes wrong? Have you ever wondered if there's something wrong with you because your own family treats you like you're toxic? Please subscribe and comment about your experiences with family members who made you feel like the problem, because what that envelope revealed about systematic family manipulation will shock you. The truth about who really ruins everything was about to destroy Emma's perfect image forever. My father's face went white as he read the first document from the envelope. It was a printed email chain between Linda and Emma, dated 3 months earlier, with the subject line, "Carol Problem, Christmas Strategy." The emails revealed 8 years of coordinated planning to exclude me from family events, manipulate situations to make me look bad, and systematically turn family members against me. "We need to be more subtle this year," Linda had written. "If we're too obvious about excluding Carol, Mom and Dad will notice. Better to invite her, but make sure she feels unwelcome enough to leave early." Emma's response was chilling. "I'll handle it. I've been practicing the techniques from that family dynamics book. Subtle comments, strategic interruptions, and making sure every conversation excludes her interests. She'll feel isolated without anyone being able to point to specific mean behavior." But the manipulation went far deeper than holiday exclusion. The emails detailed a systematic campaign to damage my relationships with other family members. Linda and Emma had been sharing edited versions of my conversations, taking my words out of context, and creating narratives that painted me as unstable, jealous, and attention-seeking. Carol called yesterday upset about not being invited to Sophie's graduation party. One email read, "I told Mom that Carol was making it all about herself again and couldn't be happy for Sophie's success. Mom totally bought it. The truth was that I'd been genuinely hurt about my niece's milestone, but my legitimate feelings had been reframed as narcissistic manipulation. They'd been documenting my responses to their exclusion tactics, then using those responses as evidence that I was dramatic and unstable. When I cried after being left out of family photos, they told everyone I was having another emotional breakdown. When I tried to defend myself against false accusations, they said I was always starting fights." The emails revealed years of calculated emotional abuse disguised as family concern. The second set of documents in the envelope revealed something even more sinister. Emma and Linda had been manipulating family finances to exclude me from inheritance planning while making it look like my own fault. My parents had been updating their will regularly, and Linda had been involved in those discussions as their eldest daughter. But the emails showed that Linda had been giving them selective information about my life, making me seem irresponsible and unreliable. "I told Dad that Carol's been making poor financial decisions and probably shouldn't be trusted with inheritance responsibility," Linda wrote to Emma. "I suggested they might want to put me in charge of distributing any assets meant for her, just to make sure that money gets used appropriately." They'd been positioning Linda as my financial guardian without my knowledge or consent, based on lies about my stability and judgment. But the manipulation extended to every family financial decision. When my parents wanted to help me with a down payment for a house, Linda convinced them that I wasn't ready for that responsibility and suggested they put the money in a trust fund that she would manage. When I was going through a difficult divorce and could have used family financial support, Linda told our parents that helping me would enable my poor decision-making and prevent me from learning from my mistakes. The emails revealed that Linda had convinced our parents to exclude me from several family financial opportunities, business investments, real estate purchases, and even family vacation planning, because I was supposedly too unstable to be trusted with money. All of these decisions were based on lies Linda had told about my financial irresponsibility, lies that weren't supported by any evidence because they weren't true. The most devastating discovery was that Linda had been intercepting financial communications meant for me. Bank statements, insurance information, and inheritance documents had been redirected to her address, keeping me uninformed about family financial matters that directly affected me. The third section of documents revealed the sophisticated psychological tactics Emma and Linda had been using to isolate me from family relationships and make me doubt my own perceptions. They'd been coordinating their responses to everything I said or did, creating a gaslighting echo chamber that made me feel crazy. When Carol brings up the graduation party thing again, we all need to respond the same way, Emma had written. Act confused, like we don't know what she's talking about. Say things like, I thought you said you couldn't come, or we definitely mentioned it to you. If we all tell the same story, she'll start doubting her own memory. They'd been literally gaslighting me for years, making me question my own recollections of conversations and events. The emails detailed specific strategies for making me feel excluded without anyone being able to accuse them of direct cruelty. They would have conversations about family events in front of me without including me, discuss plans that I wasn't invited to, and share inside jokes that deliberately excluded me from the social dynamic. The goal is to make Carol feel like an outsider in her own family without anyone being able to point to anything we did wrong, Linda explained to Emma. Passive exclusion is harder to prove than active meanness. But the most chilling part was their analysis of my emotional responses to their treatment. Carol's been much quieter at family dinners lately, Emma observed. The isolation techniques are working. She's starting to withdraw on her own, which makes our job easier. If she stops coming to family events voluntarily, no one can blame us for excluding her. They'd been studying my emotional reactions like scientists studying a lab rat, adjusting their tactics based on how effectively they could manipulate my behavior and self-esteem. The documents included detailed notes about my vulnerabilities, my divorce, my struggles with depression, my desire to maintain family relationships despite their treatment, and explicit plans for how to exploit those vulnerabilities to maintain control over family narratives. The fourth section of the envelope contained something none of us expected: witness statements from family members who'd been quietly documenting Emma and Linda's behavior for months. Sophie, Emma's younger sister, had been keeping a journal of family interactions because she'd started to notice the patterns of manipulation but hadn't known how to address them. Her detailed observations provided an outsider's perspective on years of systematic psychological abuse. Emma always waits until Carol goes to the bathroom to bring up important family news, Sophie had written. Then when Carol comes back and doesn't know what we're discussing, Emma acts like Carol wasn't paying attention or doesn't care about family matters. Sophie's journal documented dozens of incidents where Emma and Linda had deliberately excluded me from conversations, then used my lack of information as evidence that I was disengaged from family life. Mom tells Emma and me about family plans in private, then acts surprised when Carol doesn't know about events, Sophie noted. When Carol asks about things, Mom says, I thought the girls told you, even though she specifically told us not to mention anything to Carol yet. But Sophie wasn't the only family member who'd been noticing the manipulation. Mike, Linda's husband, had been keeping his own records because the level of coordination between his wife and daughter had started to disturb him. His notes revealed conversations he'd overheard that showed premeditation and deliberate cruelty. Linda and Emma spent an hour yesterday planning exactly what to say to Carol about not being invited to Thanksgiving, Mike had written. They were practicing responses to make Carol feel guilty for even asking about it. Linda said, We need to make her feel like asking to be included is selfish and dramatic. Mike's documentation showed that the exclusion wasn't accidental or natural family dynamics. It was a coordinated campaign with specific goals and strategies. Most shocking of all were the recordings that Tony, my brother, had been secretly making of family conversations because he'd been planning to confront Linda about her treatment of me, but wanted evidence to support his concerns. The recordings captured Emma and Linda laughing about my emotional responses to their manipulation, discussing how to escalate their tactics, and planning new ways to isolate me from family support systems. The final section of the envelope contained the most devastating evidence of all: Emma's personal journal entries that revealed the true motivation behind 8 years of family manipulation. Emma hadn't been targeting me because of anything I'd done. She'd been systematically destroying my family relationships because she was jealous of the attention and affection I'd received growing up as the youngest daughter. Carol was always Dad's favorite, Emma had written. Even now, I can see how his face lights up when she walks into a room. It's the same expression he had when we were kids, and she would show him her artwork or tell him about school. I've spent my whole adult life trying to get that same look, but he's never looked at me the way he looks at her. The campaign against me wasn't about my behavior. It was about Emma's unresolved childhood jealousy and her inability to accept that love isn't a competition. But the journal revealed something even more disturbing. Emma's long-term plan to completely destroy my relationship with our parents so she could inherit their entire estate without having to share. If I can convince Mom and Dad that Carol is unstable and unreliable, they'll eventually cut her out of the will completely, Emma had written. All her emotional reactions to our treatment just prove that she's not mentally stable enough to handle inheritance responsibility. Emma had been using my natural responses to emotional abuse as evidence that I was mentally unfit for family inheritance, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy where my pain became proof of my unworthiness. The final journal entry, dated just 3 weeks before Christmas, revealed Emma's ultimate goal. By next Christmas, Carol should be so isolated from the family that she stops coming to events altogether. Once she's completely estranged, I can tell Mom and Dad that she's chosen to abandon the family, and they'll probably disinherit her completely. Emma's plan was to drive me away through psychological torture, then use my absence as proof that I didn't deserve to be part of the family. The silence in the room as my father finished reading was deafening. 8 years of family lies had just been exposed in excruciating detail, and everyone's carefully maintained facades were crumbling in real time. Emma's face had gone from smug satisfaction to pure panic as she realized the scope of evidence against her. Dad, those are private documents. You had no right to read them. Private documents? My father's voice was ice cold. Private documents detailing 8 years of deliberate abuse against your own aunt? Linda tried to salvage the situation with damage control. Dad, you're taking those emails out of context. We were just trying to manage family dynamics. Manage family dynamics by lying about Carol's mental health, by intercepting her mail, by coordinating campaigns to isolate her from her own family? My mother's voice was shaking with rage I'd never heard before. The evidence was overwhelming, and every family member who'd been complicit in the manipulation was being forced to confront their role in years of psychological abuse. Sophie broke down crying. Carol, I'm so sorry. I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know how to speak up without making things worse. Tony stepped forward with his phone. I've been recording family conversations for 3 months because I was planning to confront this behavior. Emma, do you want me to play the conversation where you and Linda laughed about making Carol cry at Mom's birthday party? Mike looked at his wife with an expression I'd never seen before. Linda, I've been keeping notes about this for over a year. I thought you were just having conflicts with your sister. I didn't realize you were orchestrating a psychological warfare campaign. Emma's perfect facade finally shattered completely. She's always been Dad's favorite. She's always gotten more attention. Everything I did was about making things fair. Fair? My father stood up, his voice filled with disgust. You think 8 years of emotional abuse is about fairness? You think destroying your aunt's mental health is about childhood attention? The family dynamics that had been artificially maintained through manipulation were dissolving in real time, and everyone was being forced to confront the truth about who really ruins everything. The confrontation was swift and complete. Armed with undeniable evidence of systematic emotional abuse, my family finally held Emma and Linda accountable for years of manipulation and lies. Emma was immediately disinherited from my parents' will. If you can spend 8 years planning to exclude your aunt from her inheritance through psychological manipulation, my father told her, then you can live with the consequences of your own choices. Linda lost her role as executor of our parents' estate and financial power of attorney. We can't trust someone who's been intercepting family mail and lying about family members' mental health to handle our final affairs, my mother explained. But the most satisfying consequence was watching Emma face the family ostracism she'd been orchestrating against me for years. Family members who'd been silently witnessing her manipulation finally felt safe to speak up. And the stories that emerged painted a picture of someone who'd been destroying family relationships for her own benefit long before she targeted me. Sophie moved out of the family home, no longer willing to live with someone who'd been using her as a tool in psychological warfare campaigns. Mike demanded marriage counseling for him and Linda, with the explicit goal of addressing her willingness to abuse family members for Emma's benefit. Tony became my fierce advocate, making it clear that anyone who treated me poorly would lose access to his family and his children. The brother I thought didn't care about me had actually been building a case to protect me. Most importantly, finally understood that my feelings of isolation and inadequacy hadn't been based on reality. The family dynamics I'd struggled with for 8 years had been artificially created through deliberate manipulation, and my emotional responses had been normal reactions to abnormal treatment. The experience taught me the crucial difference between family conflict and family abuse. Normal families have disagreements and tensions, but they don't coordinate campaigns to destroy individual members' mental health and financial security. The revelation transformed my understanding of family relationships, psychological manipulation, and the difference between normal conflict and systematic abuse. I learned that family scapegoating isn't random. It's often orchestrated by family members who need someone to blame for their own issues. Emma's childhood jealousy had festered into adult psychological warfare because addressing her own insecurities was harder than destroying someone else's self-worth. The most important discovery was recognizing the signs of coordinated family manipulation. When multiple family members tell the same false stories about you, when your emotional reactions to mistreatment are used as evidence of your instability, and when you start doubting your own perceptions of reality, you're not the problem, you're being systematically abused. Real family members don't gaslight you, don't coordinate campaigns against you, and don't use your vulnerabilities as weapons. They might have conflicts with you, but they don't try to destroy your mental health or financial security through deliberate psychological tactics. The hardest lesson was accepting that some people will never be satisfied with your attempts to please them because your suffering is their goal, not an unfortunate side effect. Emma didn't want me to change my behavior. She wanted me to disappear from the family entirely. Setting boundaries with family abusers isn't cruel, it's essential. The evidence in that envelope gave me permission to stop trying to earn love from people who'd been systematically destroying my self-worth for years. Most importantly, I learned that you can't reason with people whose strategy depends on you being wrong, crazy, or bad. Emma and Linda's manipulation only worked if I continued to believe their narratives about my character and behavior. Here's what I learned from 8 years of being the family scapegoat. When someone consistently treats you like you're the problem in every situation, the real problem might be that they need you to be the problem. Family members who coordinate campaigns against you aren't trying to improve family dynamics, they're trying to control family narratives. The phrase, "you ruin everything," is often projection from people who are actively destroying relationships, but need someone else to blame for the damage they're causing. When someone accuses you of being dramatic for having emotional responses to their mistreatment, they're using your natural reactions as weapons against you. Real family love doesn't require you to accept abuse for the sake of keeping the peace. Peace that depends on one person silently enduring psychological warfare isn't peace. It's oppression with a holiday bow tied around it. Subscribe to this channel if you believe in exposing family manipulation and holding family abusers accountable. Comment below and share your experiences with family scapegoating or coordinated family campaigns against individual members. Share this story with anyone who might be questioning their own perceptions because their family treats them like they're the problem. And remember, the next time someone tells you that you ruin everything, ask yourself if they might be describing their own behavior. Sometimes the person pointing the finger is the one holding the smoking gun. Because in the end, Emma was right about one thing. Someone was ruining everything. But it wasn't me. It was the person who'd spent 8 years orchestrating psychological warfare against a family member for childhood jealousy and inheritance greed. The envelope didn't just contain evidence of manipulation. It contained proof that the family destroyer had been hiding in plain sight all along, pointing fingers at her victim while methodically destroying the very family unity she claimed to protect.